RuPaul might not have said this to you, but I'll say it to you myself. I think you were born to do drag.
Thank you, bitch. You too, mama. And she was holding it up and she's like, what if we put it on our coochie?
So more of your designs were featured on season 15 with Aura Mayari. Tell us what it was like working with her.
Well, Aura is so sweet and she's hot as f. So I'm not the best actor, so I'll like I remember
we saw your roast challenge.
I got some zingers in there. But
RuPaul, stand up.
Girl, I got her so good. You lifted the veil of the illusion of Miss RuPaul. Holy crap. Damn, no wonder she looked the way she did.
Hello, this is Miss Fiercelicious with Queen Labs Network, and you're watching Drag Financial. Here we take a deep dive into what it means to be part of a global drag franchise. We're going to be adding everything up from wigs, hair, heels, and gowns. And at the end, we'll be asking, how much did your drag cost you, and how are you capitalizing off your investment? Hello, UTICA. How are you doing today?
Fabulous. It's a dreary day in Chicagoland, and I'm in my little sewing studio doing the darn thing.
Are you working on any special projects right now?
Maybe. When you walk in my doors, you have to sign an NDA. So,
okay. All right. It's like we're on Drag Race.
But no, I'm working on some cute little projects. I'm preparing for DragCon. So.
Oh, me too. I'm so excited for DragCon.
Yeah, girl, we're gonna look snackish.
Oh, wait.
I'm really excited.
Yeah. So you're in Chicago right now, right?
Yes, I live in Chicago now.
What's that like, windy?
I love it. It's amazing. I've always been a Midwest girly. So I grew up in Minnesota, so it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Chicago. But it's amazing. It's a little hub. I love the community here. Everyone is so cute, and yeah, and I feel very welcomed here. So I love it.
I love that for you. You were deemed by several publications as the fashionista of your season, and you're amongst a lot of fashion queens. So how does that make you feel?
Oh my goodness. So fucking cool. I mean, I grew up in a hodunk farm town, and so I mean, I didn't really know what like the whole fashion world really was until like, you know, I got into drag, and I'm like, okay, I just want to be the prettiest I could be. And then when I was preparing my package, I just started like putting things together, and I'm like, well, I think this is cool, so why not? And then when I got in the show, it got revered in such a high regard, and then other people thought it was so cool, and I was like, I just like playing Barbie, and now people are, you know, putting me on this little fashion pedestal, and it's so fucking cool. And I was on such a fashion packed season with like Simone, Gottmik, and all the girlies, like and it just to be revered in that regard was really cool and very validating.
You've also opened up your own studio, and you've been taking commissions. Now tell me, what's it like going from walking the runway to making the outfits?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so on the show, of course, I made some beautiful things, and
did you make all your looks on the show?
I made a majority of them, yes. So I worked at this company that works for Sesame Street right before I was on the show. So I made a bunch of friends in the sewing department of Sesame Street. It was this amazing little company called V-Star Entertainment. And so me and a bunch of sewers who would sew all day, making like Big Birds, Elmos, Grovers, like everything. We all sat down and we just like started creating when I got the call. But I've always been in the sewing business ever since college. And so Drag Race was like my first like step into the limelight as like a main character. I was always like backstage making costumes and doing that. And so when I got to do all my fashions on the show, I got this like overwhelming sense that this craft of that this making was something that I've really been born to do. And so I've always had like little studios in my home and whatnot, but now I moved to Chicago, and I'm actually in my little sewing studio right now. And yeah, it's been wild. I've been able to make looks for girls on the show, and support the franchise in this regard, and still be a part of it by making looks for girls and making people smile on that screen.
You lived a large part of your life growing up on a farm, but then you started doing drag. Now, how did that come about?
Well, I grew up on a tiny farm in southeast Minnesota, and I was always very creative for like everyone in my family. Like I'd be making like costume box fort, excuse me, I'd be making cardboard box forts, and just drawing everything I could and just like covering the walls of my room with the art I would make, and just always making things. I in high school, I started joining this improv group called OA. It was called Otherwise Actors. And I just like joined a bunch of misfits that loved doing like little improv scenes. And at the end of every show, we would do this this drag scene where the whole cast would cross dress and run around the stage. And I don't know, something about like putting on a pair of heels and putting on a wig was just so magical. And so I kind of had little steps growing up. Like I had that acting troupe. In kindergarten, I dressed as Mary Poppins, and I loved to like put on my mom's heels. And I don't know. I feel like it just was in my bones for so long. And then and then when I got to college, I found this whole drag thing to be like prevalent in the universe. And so I just was like, you know what? Why not? Like, let's go for it. Drag really helped me like get out of my own shell. Like I was mentioning before, like I was definitely like a backstage type of energy, but drag just helped me filter this creativity and share it with an audience. And so it was kind of a gradual thing from the farm, but right after I went to college, I could like be free from the farm life. And from then I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna have these wings, I'm gonna let them soar.
Perfect. RuPaul might not have said this to you, but I'll say it to myself. I think you were born to do drag.
Thank you, bitch. You too, mama. I feel like sometimes it's in people's bones. So
Yeah.
You can really tell when you meet people, and you're definitely one of them too.
You're responsible for the iconic three-headed doll look worn by Willow Pill. Now tell us how this collaboration came about.
Oh my goodness, I love this look. This was a little wild ride. So Willow approached me and she's like, "Hey, I'm interested in doing something for the finale." And I really did this to myself. Like this was like my first like, be a part of the finale moment. I'm like, oh my god! And so her and I bounce ideas back and forth with each other, and I had about a month to make it, but we couldn't figure out the exact idea until like a week before it was due. So, it was a little stressful, but we were bouncing ideas back and forth, and we came up with this like haunted doll, three-headed doll idea. And I've been collaborating with this maker in Chicago. She goes by Hale Satin Millinery, and she makes hats and stuff, and she's very crafty, and she knew how to mold faces. So we sat Willow down and casted her face, and we started experimenting with materials and whatnot. It was a very experimental project at the start. And then we just got to the grindstone, did some fittings, and then it just became this like three-headed creature. And I wanted to be like have like a couple gags in there. So we like had the two heads. We had the face reveal on her crotch, like that face reveal down below didn't happen until like the very last fitting, like right before we were going to give it to her. We had this extra face that we casted, and she was holding it up, and she's like, "What if we put it on our coochie?" And we're like, "Ugh." And so Lisa and I looked at each other and we're like, "Can we pump this out?" And we just sat down and we painted it, put it like put it on a little harness, and just like did the damn thing like so last minute. It was insane. And we like worked on that big face reveal, like the whole thing and the mechanics of everything. Um, and it all came together just like perfect right last minute. And we sent her off with a couple suitcases, and it was so wild. And actually, fun fact, that look was supposed to be for crowning.
Oh.
But she came to me like about like a couple days before, and she's like, "Okay, listen, plans have changed, and I don't think I'll be able to wear it for crowning because either the number is too high energy or just the vibe is not right." And I'm like, "Well, we're still doing it, right? We're still doing the look." And she's like, "Oh yeah, we'll figure out what to do it for, but it's just not gonna fly for that." So I'm like, "Oh my god, okay." I was like wanting that crowning moment. And so then she told us that it was going to be for the solo performance. And I was like, "Well, that's even better because it gets its own like showcase instead of like battling someone else." Yeah, and then we saw the number and it was all like custom to her and her song and everything. And I Hate People was so iconic. And then the reveal was so gaggy, and it just like, it really turned out so well. I didn't really expect it to.
You've also worked with Bosco and Kamara Hall. How does it feel to become a go-to designer for the Drag Race alumni?
Oh my gosh, so cool. For these stars to be able to trust me with their ideas and their concepts, and for me to be able to execute them is really cool. And it's really fun. Like, I'm a part of these journeys that they have, and I guess it's very special. I really revere their work, and I'm so glad that they also revere mine.
I might have to hit you up too for some looks one day, girl. Some more of your designs were featured on season 15 with Aura Mayari. Tell us what it was like working with her.
Well, Aura is so sweet, and she's hot as fuck. So she reached out to me. She's like, "Hey, listen, so I got a special secret." And I was like, "Let's go." She expressed to me that a couple of her runways, but her one big runway was Puffer. And so I was like, "I know exactly what to do. I want to take a little bit of your world and put it into mine." And so I made this big kimono puffy coat. And it was so fun to work with her. She's a powerhouse performer, and I wanted to really make her look special on the runway, and she was a joy to work with.
I'm so mad at you for making that outfit because like literally 2 weeks before, I did a photo shoot in this giant puffer coat made by like the same designer made this outfit, and it looks exactly like yours. Yeah, great minds.
That's sickening. So that was the one who was on Next in Fashion.
Yeah,
right?
Charles Liu.
Damn.
Yeah. I'll send you a picture after.
Puffer, it's in right now. It is fucking in.
Yes, it's the Next in Fashion. You also did an amazing collaboration with Black Peppa from Drag Race UK. Tell us what it was like working with her.
Absolutely. I love Black Peppa. Yeah. So iconic and just a sweetheart and so fucking talented. When I was in the UK the first time, we messaged and we're like, "Girl, like we gotta hang out. Let's do this thing." Like, I love her vibe and her energy. We never got to the first time, but then when she got on the show, she expressed to me, she's like, "Hey, I have this twinning runway, and it'd be so fun to do it with you." And I'm like, let's go. And like connected our hairs together and like did the whole thing. And I found that we model very similarly. Like, we just have very similar lines, and we just like play when we wear clothes. And so it felt like a little match made in heaven. And we did a little Vivian collaboration as well. I made some looks that we could work, and it was like a little honor for Rest in Power, Miss Vivian. So Yeah, it was really special, and she holds a dear place in my heart.
I know, I love her. We love you, Black Peppa. Right now, a lot of your work seems to be commission based. Have you ever thought of opening a fashion house or debuting a collection?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to open a little fashion house, a little Studica fashion house.
Yes, I love that.
um, no, yeah, I would be interested in doing like a global brand at some point. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of vision. I think I have the chops for both, but right now I'm kind of in my work, I'm just building up steam, and eventually I'm gonna get this steam engine rolling. But um, eventually, like my dream is like to like put things at the Met Gala, and like I would love to like have people wear my beautiful things I make with my hands. So um, one day, Mama, I feel like it's definitely down the road.
I see that for you. And if you need any models, you have my number.
Girl,
If you saved it this time.
I would love to get you in the studio.
Yes. Can you tell us what was going through your mind while you're preparing your tape for the competition? What were the requirements?
Absolutely. So I people put a lot of stock into their audition tape, which I love. But I found that for me, it was just fun. Like you're making an audition tape of like it's a nutshell of who you are. So like why not have fun? Like just put it all out there and just like have a great time. Of course, there's a deadline. It's stressful. They ask you to do so many looks and runways and everything, and just like um, yeah, it can get crazy. I remember Snatch Game was like the most stressful for me. I'm not the best actor, so I was like, I remember.
We
like,
saw your roast challenge.
I got some zingers in there. But
RuPaul, stand up.
girl, I got her so fucking good. You lifted the veil of the illusion of Miss RuPaul. But yeah, so I guess if I was to offer any advice for anyone who's doing an audition tape, it's just putting who you are in a nutshell. Like, yes, they have requirements. Try to hit the requirements as best you can, but like, just put all of you into it. You don't have to answer all the questions. Just like put out your soul in a little tape, and I'm sure that you'll get lots of accolades.
And how many times did you audition before you got on?
I auditioned twice total, and I got on my second time auditioning. Wild. I think they were considering me for season 12, but then yeah, I got lucky, and I got lucky season 13.
How long did it take you to prepare your package for the competition?
Gosh, it took me about, well, they give you about a month, so I'd say it took me that full month. There was a lot going on, and I lived in Minneapolis at the time.
Well, Britta said she got like 2 weeks.
You got 2 weeks?
Britta Filter, not me.
Yeah. Oh, Britta got 2 weeks? Holy crap. Damn, no wonder she looked the way she did. No, she looked great. She pulled together a great package. But yeah, I got a month. But there was so much going on in Minneapolis at the time that it was really tough to focus on getting everything done. And so I had to pull from a lot of what I already had, which I think is really wise for a contestant. Like, but yeah, I had to pull from a lot of what I already had, which I think is really wise of a contestant. Like, you don't have to make everything. Like, pull out what you know is your strongest suit, and pull out from your best drag. But yeah, once we got that list, me and my little sewing squad were sewing constantly for a month. It was wild.
And what was the hardest part of the preparation? Were there any financial strains?
Yes. So I come from not a well-to-do family, and I've never had a lot of money. I mean I'm in the entertainment business, so and that was like peak COVID at the time. So preparing for the show was relatively difficult. I didn't have a lot of money to spend, so my whole drag package was about $5,000.
Really? Well, you're lucky
Girl,
you can sew, girl.
it's that's nothing.
Yeah.
But I mean, thankfully, I know how to sew, and like, I just pulled from the materials I already had. So I think that was definitely something that I had to my advantage. But yeah, I had like no money at that time. So I remember I got to like the 2000 mark, and I needed to borrow some money from some people, and I had to pay them back later. But yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge, the financials of it all, because I really did not have a lot of money at that time.
That's crazy because you can't even tell from your runways. Like, there's like girls who spend like 5,000 on just one look, but you managed to pull off an entire runway collection on just $5,000. Let me pull out my sewing machine for All Stars, girl.
It's expensive to be a drag.
It is.
So I think that was probably one of my biggest triumphs, to be able to do something with that budget. It was nuts. It was very stressful.
Do you believe your local drag scene affected your access to top designers? I mean, you're from Minneapolis, so. Yes.
Well, in Minneapolis, there's not a lot of designers, and I didn't have any networking for anyone else. I tried, like, when I got the calls, like, oh my gosh, who do I know? And I tried to reach out to some like designers I saw on Instagram or something, and I didn't get any bites. So I was like, well, I guess I'm making all my shit. But I think that really added to like the hometown charm of all of my work. So in a way, I think it worked to my favor.
How long have you been doing drag before you auditioned?
I've been doing drag, well, before I auditioned, it was probably like 5 years or so. Yeah, I was immersed in the Minneapolis drag scene, doing all the brunches, like all around town. Yeah, and doing the damn thing in Minneapolis and having a great time.
What's something that you didn't know before going into the competition, and what would you do differently now?
Oh, goodness. So I had no idea how reality TV worked. I went in and I just was like, I don't know how this works. I just want to put my best foot forward and just do the damn thing. But I found that the confessionals were the hardest part for me. I could just, like, they told you to speak in third person, and they would, I could just feel like the push and pull of the producers, and I just wanted to be a rock. Like, I know who I am, I know my truth, and I just want to do that. And I didn't play as much as I guess I should, to make, like, a TV personality come to life, So I think that if I was going to go back, I would definitely play more. I was definitely so into my craft and so into my, like, my soul that I was like, I just got to keep this safe, and, like, that I think if I went back, I just would let loose.
Let loose, girl! Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date with our weekly content. And don't forget to hit the like button and leave us a comment below to let us know who you want to see next. And if you want early or exclusive content, make sure to support us here. Now click here to see the next part of our interview.